So you probably either play Brawl Stars or Heroes of the Storm, and I'm here to tell you why you should give the other one a shot. Both games are free MOBAs developed by huge game companies, Supercell for Brawl Stars, who are the creators of Clash Royale and Clash of Clans, and Blizzard for HOTS, short for Heroes of the Storm, the creators of Overwatch and Hearthstone, along with other titles. Unfortunately, there is a reason each game is being held back from the legendary status of League of Legends, which I'll not be talking about here. Brawl Stars was developed for mobile devices and a younger audience, but not all mobile games are bad despite the ads, and there are many competitive players you'll face in Brawl Stars. For Heroes of the Storm, while its development is slowed and its esports shut down, there is still a very active community and queue times for matches aren't that long. Next, I'll go over the largest similarities and differences. For starters, both games have many characters to choose from, both around 90 at the time of writing this, with multiple ways to play said characters with their builds and kits, to duke it out in team fights for an objective. The synergy of the characters you choose while playing in a team is important, as is working together, or else you could be destroyed by an enemy team. The match ends for both games when you finish the objective, and all characters in both games have different classes that describe their role in a team, like tank, assassin, healer, among others. The first major difference is going to be the match durations. Brawl Stars matches usually last 2 to 3 minutes, rarely going above 5. A lot of game modes have max times before they end too. HOTS matches, however, usually last 10 to 20 minutes, vastly depending on what characters are chosen, and technically matches never end until the objective is completed. Brawl Stars is played on a phone, so it uses twin joystick controls, requiring fast and good aim and reactions to survive, while HOTS is played with a keyboard and a mouse, requiring precise targeting and attacks most of the time go in the direction you are facing / where your mouse is because there isn't a separate control stick to aim them. HOTS is more free to play compared to Brawl Stars, as another big difference is how leveling up works. In Brawl Stars, each character can be leveled up outside of matches using coins and power points, which boost damage, health, and healing. The coins are also used at certain levels, called power levels, to buy gadgets, star powers, gears, and hypercharges. All of this is still done out of a match, and there is no way to change any of this during one. HOTS, on the other hand, does leveling inside matches. Your team starts at level 1 at the beginning of a match and gains experience through defeating enemies and destroying towers. Each level boosts the same stats as Brawl Stars, but certain levels also give talents that change your abilities. All of this resets every match, and nothing done outside of the match will impact what happens inside the match, besides who you choose to play. Cosmetics and communication for the games are different in many ways. HOTS has an in-match chat, which makes less sense for Brawl Stars due to it being very short match times. In HOTS, emojis, called pins in Brawl Stars, are used in this chat like emojis for texting, meaning you have access to every emoji you own at the tip of your fingers in the game. You just need to type its name. For sprays, you get one slot, but some of them are animated too. You only have room for one profile picture, which is the only cosmetic shown before loading a match. You can also use a voice line that you choose before the game for that character, do that character's dance, or taunt, which becomes more flashy levels on the character. There are also different skins for characters, different mounts, which is faster movement speed outside of battle since the maps in HOTS are so large, and different banners, a flag that appears when you destroy a major building on the enemy side. For Brawl Stars, the cosmetics used during a match are pins, split into 3 brawler pins and 2 other pins, sprays, 1 brawler spray and 4 other sprays, and skins. Pins are animated, and most of the brawler pins have a voice line attached to them. At the start of a match, the battle cards are shown, which can be used to show off your fame / rank, a pin, 2 profile pictures, and a title. Text that goes below your name, either from buying a brawl pass or getting a brawler to gold 3 mastery. Now talking about communication during a match. HOTS has many ways, like the in-game chat, a voice channel, and pings. Pings can help convey messages fast, like warning that an area is dangerous, asking for help, calling for retreat, among other useful things. As a side note, HOTS lets you check all sorts of stats mid-match, like damage and healing, while Brawl Stars only shows at the end. Brawl Stars has no clear way of communication other than to tell your teammates that you are lagging and to express your emotion with pins. Okay, so we talked about abilities before. How do they work? In Brawl Stars, you have your main attack and your super by default, and as you level up you can get gadgets, gears, star powers, and hypercharges. You move around with the blue joystick on the left. Main attacks are aimed using the red joystick, but can only be used when you have ammo. Most brawlers in the game have 3 ammo, which means you can attack rapidly 3 times before having to reload, which is automatic. Supers are charged mostly from dealing damage from your main attack as well as your super. Once charged, a super can be aimed like a main attack using the yellow joystick and usually deals heavy blows on the enemy team, although there are many different kinds of supers, not all do damage. Gadgets are 3 uses per match abilities that have you click the button to activate. They have a wide range of effects like crowd control, healing, boosting your main attack, etc. Star powers either buff a stat of a character or provide a new passive ability for them, kind of like a level up talents and hats. Gears are little stat boosters under certain conditions like damage when low health. Everyone has the same 6 originals, but there are a few archetype specific ones and brawler specific ones as well. Finally, hyperchargers charge like a super, but usually 2.5 times as long. Once used, the brawler will gain significant stat buffs for 5 seconds, and if they use their super during the time the hypercharge is activated, the super will be changed in a way to remove the downsides from the original. Now for HOTS, there's basic attack, basic abilities, your ultimate, traits, and talents. Moving in HOTS is done by right-clicking where you want to go, even if you can't see it by scrolling the map around. In HOTS, most abilities require mana and have cooldowns once you use them, so while you're waiting, you can use your basic attacks, which do physical damage to a target you clicked, but most of the time you want to be using your abilities. The basic abilities are controlled with Q, W, and E, and either automatically target the closest enemy / ally, go to where your mouse is when used, or go out in the direction you are facing. For the ultimate, you'll unlock it once your team reaches level 10, but has a massive impact and a huge cooldown with it. Sometimes character traits, a passive that they start with, have an active form that uses D. Talents are chosen every few levels, and either upgrade an ability, give a new passive, or give a new active, which is controlled using the number keys. After the results of a match, assuming it isn't a ranked mode, Brawl Stars players will gain trophies for a win of a match, and lose trophies if they lose on the character they played as. Then all the trophies are added together for your trophy count, which is similar to how HOTS does it. HOTS after a match will always give EXP to the character you played as, but more for wins than losses, and all of the character levels are added up to your player level. Since Brawl Stars requires more progression, the trophy road is better than the rewards from leveling up characters in HOTS. Another thing I want to touch on is how basic damage and health are scaled. Of course, for both games, the higher the level, the higher the stats are. However, in Brawl Stars, usually most brawlers can take out an enemy with only a few hits, and some supers can even 1 or 2 shot enemies. Usually with good aim, taking out brawlers isn't too hard for a single person, and with the advantage of team size, it's easy to wipe enemies. Also, if you are low on health, you can just run back and heal up fast after not taking damage and not attacking for a few seconds. Health is large and damage is large for Brawl Stars. HOTS is a bit different, as while health does become large at high levels, still slightly lower than Brawl Stars on average, damage is relatively low, usually taking dozens of the average attack to defeat a hero. Thankfully, it goes by much faster with your teammates helping you. Also, passive healing is always active in HOTS, but is not reliable, barely healing anything. Instead, you rely on healer teammates, founds, which also help restore mana, and other abilities. With defeating a hero in HOTS taking much longer, the respawn timer is longer in Brawl Stars, even increasing as the match continues to like 45 seconds compared to Brawl Stars' average of like 5. Crowd control is a big part of a MOBA. Being able to block an enemy from doing damage is helpful. Both games share a lot of abilities, though they slightly differ sometimes. Shielding and marking are generally the same, except HOTS has 2 types of damage, physical for basic attacks and spell for abilities, both with individual shielding and marking too. Stunning and sleep are the same for both games, stopping you from what you're doing until it ends, or being attacked while sleeping. Slowing and speed are also the same, though some abilities in HOTS have decaying stats. After that, it begins to split off, with Mute and Brawl Stars stopping everything but movement, while HOTS has Blind that stops basic attacks, and Silence which stops abilities, only Polymorph stopping both. HOTS also has Rooting, which just stops movement and movement-based abilities. Before I compare characters, there's one less unique thing about both that majorly influences gameplay. In Brawl Stars, the only way to hide from enemies is either to be invisible or be in a bush. Anything else you can be seen unless the enemy is off of your screen. In HOTS, there are bushes, but very few, and some heroes do have stealth such as invisibility, but the main thing with seeing enemies is your line of sight. You can't see around walls usually, and you can't see areas where no allies are, so you don't always know where the enemies are approaching from. There are some abilities which cause an area with no allies to stay visible. Some mark enemies to make them visible no matter where they are. The unique thing about Brawl Stars is its terrain, like walls, water, fences, etc. In Brawl Stars, many abilities can be thrown over walls, even some brawlers rely on walls to stay safe, and some abilities can even destroy walls and bushes. HOTS has very little of this, so usually you can work with a few maps in total, because most of the time you're just fighting in lanes. However, Brawl Stars has many maps, and the terrain can be changed very easily, removing any sense of lanes. Now I want to highlight a few similar characters' abilities between games. I'm going to try to compare heroes to brawlers as there are more abilities to choose from. You'd probably see one brawler in specific matches with most of the abilities for a few, so that's who I'm saying is the most closest brawler to the hero I'm talking about. So if you like one of the sides, the other may appeal to you. Some others will just be more of a mix of abilities. I just want to point out the common things. Junkrat is the first hero I chose, yes, from Overwatch, with his Q being like Tick's attack. Junkrat's W acts like a dynamic super with its knockback of enemies and Dyna Jump star power. One of Junkrat's ultimates is like Tick super plus Nani's super because you can control it, but it has health. Junkrat's other ultimate is like a combination of Miko super and sorta Dyna's hyper. And Junkrat's trait is Tick's hyper. Next I've chosen Li Ming. Li Ming's Q is Nani's attack. Li Ming's W is like Nani's hyper, but you don't control it. One of Li Ming's ultimates is like a push gadget. A lot of characters have this in Brawl Stars. Li Ming's other ultimate is like Amber's attack. And Li Ming's trait is like Clancy's pumping up star power. Now I've chosen Ana. Ana's Q is like Byron's attack, but it only heals. Ana's W is like Byron's super with the star power Malleus that also reduces healing. Ana's E is like Sandy's gadget. One of Ana's ultimates acts like Mandy's trait but with Byron attack. And Ana's trait is like Crow's poison but really small. Next I've chosen Diablo. His Q is kind of like Bull's super plus Colette's star power. His W is like Griff's super. Diablo's E is Primo's gadget. One of Diablo's ultimates is like an Amber attack. Basically, yeah, it's just fire. Sony fire. Kael'thas's Q is like squeak attacks on the ground. Kael'thas W is like a squeak attack on an enemy plus damage over the time. Kael'thas E is like Chester's Jawbreaker super. Kael'thas's first ultimate is like a dynamic super that chases you. They're not that similar, but I just kind of found this concept funny. Kael'thas's other ultimate is like a Jessie super but has a death timer instead of a health bar. Next I've chosen Medivh, which Medivh Q is Nita's attack. Medivh's W is like Gus's super if it was an invincibility shield. Medivh E is a limited gray super. One of Medivh's ultimate is if Oda's super chained. Medivh's trait, which affects his mountain form, is like Janet hyper but infinite and used for travel. No damage, just a bird. Anub'arak's W is like Rosa's super for spell damage combined with Edgar's gadget. Anub'arak E is Mo's super. One of Anub'arak's ultimates is like Charlie's super. And Anub'arak's trait is like Charlie's gadget and hyper. Karazim basic attack / trait is like an Edgar attack that also heals allies. Karazim Q is like a Fang super without chaining, but it can also be used on allies. Karazim W is like Doug gadget, double saucer. Karazim E is Edgar's hypercharge, and one Karazim's ultimate is Doug's super. Finally, I've chosen Tassadar. Tassadar's Q is like a mini Mandy super. Tassadar's W is Spike's super, kinda. Tassadar's E is like Sprout super. And one of Tassadar's ultimates is like a moving Tara super. Thanks for watching, and I hope you give the other game a shot.